are at Walmart. You walk past the main entrance, past the giant wall of bottled water, past the expensive camping gear, past the generators, past the emergency products that look like they were designed for someone making a prepper thumbnail. And then you walk right past the items that actually matter. They are not in one aisle. They are scattered across the store. Pool supplies, hardware, baby products, automotive, personal care, kitchen, electronics, sporting goods. The items in this video are not exciting. They do not look tactical. They do not come in branded survival packaging. Most people would walk past them without thinking twice. But when the water stops, the power goes out, the toilet does not flush, the phones die, the freezer warms up, and the storm lasts longer than the forecast said it would. These are the items that suddenly become useful. Not someday, not in a fantasy collapse, in the ordinary emergencies that already happen. Boil water notices, winter blackouts, hurricane outages, grid strain, apartment power failures, pharmacy closures, and supply runs that happen too late. 11 Walmart items, most of them cheap, most of them boring, most of them sitting in aisles that have nothing to do with emergency preparedness. And that is exactly why most people miss them. Here's what they did not tell you. Preparedness content has trained people to look for gear, branded kits, expensive tools, tactical bags, solar generators, freeze-dried food buckets, things that look like survival. But real household preparedness is usually less dramatic than that. It is water treatment, waste containment, hygiene, gloves, manual tools, information, dry storage, backup power for a phone, a way to stay warmer when the thermostat drops, a way to keep documents, medications, and supplies from getting ruined by water. The most useful emergency items are often not sold as emergency items. That is why they are cheaper. That is why they are still on shelves during normal times. And that is why people only realize they needed them after the emergency has already started. This list is built around 3 rules. First, every item must be available at a normal Walmart or similar big box store. Second, every item must close a specific household emergency gap. Third, every item must be useful across more than one disaster scenario. Not one gadget for one fantasy situation. 11 boring items that become serious when normal systems stop working. Starting with the item most people see as a pool product, not a water backup. One rule before the list. Do not buy emergency items because they look like preparedness items. Buy them because they solve a failure. If the failure is unsafe water, the item must help with water safety. If the failure is sanitation, the item must help contain waste. If the failure is no power, the item must extend communication or information access. If the failure is cold, the item must help preserve body heat. If the failure is injury, the item must help protect the person giving care. That is the standard, not branding, not packaging, not fear, not hype. What does the item do when something stops working? 11 items. Here we go. The first item is plain calcium hypochlorite pool shock. You find it in the pool supplies aisle. Most people walk past it because they do not own a pool. That is the mistake. Pool shock is not only a pool product. The right type of calcium hypochlorite can be used as part of emergency water disinfection planning when handled correctly and only according to official guidance. But this is also the item on the list where mistakes matter the most. You do not buy scented pool products. You do not buy products with algicides, fragrances, stabilizers, or mystery additives. You do not guess. You do not copy a random internet dose and treat that like a plan. This item belongs in a serious household emergency plan only if you understand exactly what type you have, how it is stored, and what official instructions say for emergency use. Why include it at all? Because stored bottled water runs out fast. A family can go through gallons per day, and water storage takes space. During an extended outage or boil water event, treatment knowledge can matter as much as storage. The action is not buy a chemical and improvise later. The action is this. Learn the official emergency water instructions before a crisis. Store the correct plain product safely if it fits your plan, and keep printed instructions with it. Boring aisle, serious consequence. The second item is a box of heavy-duty 55-gallon contractor bags. Not kitchen trash bags. Contractor bags, the thick ones. Most households think of trash bags as cleanup supplies. In an emergency, heavy-duty contractor bags become one of the most flexible items in the house. They can line a bucket toilet when the toilet stops flushing. They can collect and contain waste. They can hold dirty clothes or contaminated cleanup materials. They can cover broken windows. They can protect supplies from rain. They can act as an emergency ground barrier. In a pinch, they can become a crude poncho. The key detail is thickness. Thin bags tear when weight, moisture, or sharp edges are involved. In a sanitation emergency, a torn bag is not an inconvenience. It is a health problem. Most people do not think about waste until water service fails. That is why they wait too long. A household with contractor bags can create a temporary waste system. A household without them starts improvising with bags that were never meant to hold that job. Buy the thick bags before the emergency. Store them with sanitation supplies, not in a random garage corner where nobody can find them. The third item is powdered electrolyte drink mix. You find it in the sports drink aisle, the beverage aisle, or sometimes near pharmacy products. Most emergency planning talks about water. It talks much less about what happens when the body loses salts through heat, illness, stress, vomiting, diarrhea, or physical work. During a crisis, people carry water, move supplies, clean debris, manage heat, handle stress, and sleep poorly. In hot conditions, they sweat. In illness conditions, they lose fluids faster. In cold conditions, they may not feel thirsty even while dehydration builds. Plain water matters, but in certain emergencies, water without electrolyte management is an incomplete plan. Powdered drink mix is cheap, compact, shelf-stable, and easier to store than bottles. It gives a household a simple way to support hydration when the body is under stress. This is not about turning emergency water into a flavored drink. It is about keeping people functional when decision-making, physical work, and body stress are all happening at once. Store one large container, keep it dry, rotate it like food. The fourth item is petroleum jelly. Most people see it as a bathroom product. That is why they underestimate it. In an emergency, petroleum jelly has multiple uses. It can protect skin from wind and cold. It can reduce cracking around hands, lips, and exposed skin. It can help prevent bandages from sticking to certain clean wound dressings when used appropriately. It can protect small metal tools from rust. Combined with cotton balls, it can become a reliable fire-starting aid. That is a lot of usefulness from one cheap jar. And unlike many survival products, it does not need batteries, charging, or special storage. The value of petroleum jelly is not that it does one dramatic thing. The value is that it quietly solves small problems before they become larger ones. Cracked skin, difficult fire starting, tool corrosion, irritated skin during cold or wet conditions. Buy the plain version. Store it with first aid and cold weather supplies. The fifth item is a real hand crank can opener. Not a tiny tool on a multi-tool, not the cheap one that barely works. A real manual can opener stored directly with the food. This sounds almost too obvious to include, which is exactly why households miss it. People stock canned food and assume the opening problem is already solved. Then the power goes out. The electric opener is useless. The old manual opener is dull, broken, missing, or sitting in a drawer nobody can find in the dark. A pantry full of canned food is not a food plan if the opening tool fails. This item costs very little, but it protects the entire canned food supply. The rule is simple. Buy two. Test them. Store one with the food. Do not borrow it for the kitchen. Do not let it disappear into a drawer. Emergency supplies fail when they are technically owned but practically unavailable. The can opener is the perfect example. The sixth item is a large pack of unscented baby wipes. You find them in the baby aisle. Most people think of baby wipes as a convenience item. In an extended water outage, they become hygiene infrastructure. When running water is limited, personal hygiene becomes harder fast. Hands get dirty, sweat builds, bathrooms stop working normally. People conserve water for drinking and cooking, so washing becomes irregular. That is when skin irritation, odor, contamination, and morale problems start stacking up. Unscented wipes give a household a simple way to maintain basic cleanliness without using large amounts of water. They can support personal hygiene, clean up around sanitation areas, and basic comfort during a blackout or water outage. The key word is unscented. Scented wipes can irritate skin with repeated use, and in an emergency, the product you use once may become the product you rely on for days. Buy the large pack. Store it with sanitation supplies. Do not treat hygiene as optional. In a long outage, hygiene is health. The seventh item is a box of nitrile gloves. You may find them in the automotive section, cleaning section, or health aisle. Most households have a small first aid kit. Very few have enough barrier protection for a real household emergency. Gloves matter because emergencies are not clean. You may be handling waste, fuel, floodwater residue, dirty bandages, raw food, broken materials, cleaning chemicals, vomit, blood, spoiled refrigerator contents, storm debris. A single pair of gloves in a first aid kit is not enough. A 100-count box gives you quantity, and quantity matters because gloves are disposable. Once contaminated, they are not a permanent tool. They are used, removed correctly, and discarded. Buy nitrile, not latex if possible, because nitrile handles more situations and avoids latex allergy issues for many people. Buy more than one size if the household has different hand sizes. A glove that tears, slips, or does not fit properly is half protection. The 8th item is a multi-pack of Mylar emergency blankets. You find them in sporting goods, camping, or outdoor supplies. Most people think these are cheap gimmicks. They are not. They are lightweight thermal tools that reflect radiant body heat and create a barrier against heat loss when used correctly. Their main use is obvious: emergency warmth. But their secondary uses are what make them valuable. They can help line a warm room window during a winter outage. They can act as a ground barrier. They can help keep wind off the body. They can be used as a signal mirror in certain situations. They store flat, weigh almost nothing, and cost very little. The mistake is buying one. A household needs several. One per person is the minimum. Extra is better because Mylar tears, and once a blanket is damaged, its usefulness drops. Store them in the car, emergency kit, and warm room supplies. This is one of the cheapest ways to add thermal margin before a winter failure. The 9th item is a battery-powered NOAA weather radio. You find it in electronics, outdoor, or emergency/weather sections depending on the store. Most people assume their phone will provide alerts. That is not a plan. Phones depend on battery, towers, networks, data, and notification systems. During a regional emergency, any one of those can fail or become overloaded. A weather radio gives you an information channel that does not depend on your phone's internet connection. It matters before the outage, during the outage, and after the first rumors start spreading. This is especially important during winter storms, tornado warnings, hurricanes, excessive heat events, flash floods, and grid strain conditions. Information is not just comfort. Information tells you whether to stay, leave, conserve, refill, move supplies, check neighbors, or stop waiting. Buy the battery-powered version. Keep batteries with it. Test it before storm season. Store it where people can find it in the dark. The radio you cannot locate is the same as not owning one. The 10th item is a USB power bank. Most households own phones. That does not mean they have communication resilience. A phone becomes weaker every hour the power stays out. The battery drops. People check messages too often. They refresh apps. They use the flashlight. They record damage. They call family. They look for updates. Then the phone dies right when they need it most. A power bank extends the communication window. That can mean reaching family, receiving alerts, contacting emergency services, checking maps, saving documents, or keeping one device alive long enough to coordinate. The key is not just owning a power bank. The key is storing it charged. A dead power bank in a drawer is not backup power. It is a false sense of security. Buy a 10,000 mAh or larger unit. Prefer USB-C charging if possible. Recharge it every few months. Store the cable with it. Label it as emergency use. Small device. Big difference. The 11th item is a box of gallon freezer bags. Not sandwich bags, not thin storage bags. Freezer bags. Most people see them as kitchen storage. In an emergency, they become waterproof containment. They protect documents, medications, batteries, fire-starting material, small electronics, cash, paper maps, hygiene supplies, and first aid items from moisture. This matters because many emergencies are wet: floods, hurricanes, leaks, broken pipes, snowmelt, roof damage, and storm cleanup. A survival item that gets soaked may stop being a survival item. Freezer bags are cheap insurance. They are also useful for organizing small supplies. One bag for medication copies, one for charging cables, one for batteries, one for lighters and matches, one for hygiene items, one for food portions. Double bag critical items. Write labels on the outside. The emergency kit that is organized and dry is easier to use under stress than a bag full of loose, wet supplies. 11 items. Plain pool shock for emergency water planning, only with proper product selection and official instructions. Contractor bags for waste, containment, and emergency protection. electrolyte powder for hydration stress, petroleum jelly for skin protection, fire starting and utility use, a manual can opener for the food you already stored, baby wipes for waterless hygiene, nitrile gloves for contamination protection, mylar blankets for thermal margin, ANOA, a weather radio for information when the phone is not enough, a power bank to keep communication alive, freezer bags to keep the rest of the kit dry. The pattern is simple. The best emergency items are often not sold as emergency items. They are sold as pool supplies, kitchen products, baby products, automotive supplies, personal care items, and electronics. That is why the price is lower. That is why the preparedness industry talks around them. And that is why households miss them until the shelf is empty. The goal is not to buy everything in a panic. The goal is to recognize ordinary tools before everybody else realizes what they are. 11 items, 1 store, no specialty retailer, no online wait, no expensive survival brand packaging, but only if you buy them before the emergency begins. After the alert goes out, the easy window closes fast. The contractor bags disappear because people suddenly remember toilets need liners. The wipes disappear because people realize water is limited. The power banks disappear because every phone is dying. The weather radios disappear because the network is overloaded. The freezer bags disappear because documents, medication, and electronics need to stay dry. And the items that looked boring yesterday become the items people are driving store to store trying to find. This is the difference between preparedness and panic buying. Panic buying is noticing the value after everyone else notices it. Preparedness is recognizing the value while the aisle is still full. The list is not complicated. The store is probably close. The window is now.